is so wide that you can't be master of everything, and you can't, know, you are not supposed to know anything. There should not be hesitation. It should be, you will come back and tell the student that, yes, we'll again do it. There's no problem if there. But I think telling the student that you are most knowledgeable, you will not accept anything bullying by the students, which I think that what I, if student is in habit of something pointed out, he needs to be controlled. That he doesn't, make something, this education, just a joke. But I think that's very, very important. The student understands you very well. He understands and he appreciates the teacher. And I can tell you, the student who value you, they will continue to value you throughout their career. Even if, you meet the student after 30 or 40 years, he will still come and touch your feet because you are the one who taught him. And teacher has the only advantage because you're on the other side of the table and you are recognized. And once you teach, even for 15 minutes or half an hour, the student will never forget that teacher, what was his communication skill, what was the talent, and what was he, what quality he was able to, communicate. So that remains very, very wonderful. So I think we, as a teacher, we have to think long term. Yes, and teaching should not be taken that you are in a end of the month paid a job, you are giving a salary. It's not an employment. That's one part, all of us are doing something, is ultimately, living. But the more important is your role and importance. And there is no substitute of a good teacher, I can only tell. The colleges, institutions are made or marred by the teachers. Your commitment, your sincerity, and your, the way you teach, the way you want to communicate. And it's not that you grow in a day. It's slowly and slowly you build up. Slowly you see that what best you can do. And there are a number of ways. Give the freedom to the student, give them the freedom. Let them come and think and come back to you how this can be done. And there are many ways of teaching, like you are teaching history. History may not be taught simply by lecture or by a slide. Tell them, make a model. So if they make the model of historical building, I think teaching, learning of history will be much better. So many subjects you can do, like climate, you can have model making, and the models are one which are very, very helpful instrument and facilitating teaching. So I think that is, you have to innovate, you have to experiment. There's no problem, you may fail. Failures are always part of learning, but continue to grow. Let's not stagnate, that is what is important. And go with student, make student as a partner of teaching learning, and you'll find things will be much better. I hope, I don't want to say it's not here a class for this, but surely I think your remaining positive is very, very important. And telling students that they should remain positive, they have to grow. It's not that you make everybody an architect, Everybody has its own quality. Somebody may be very good in construction. Somebody may be very good in detailing. Somebody may be good in interior. Somebody may be, very good as maybe tomorrow he becomes an IAS. Let's explore that. Give him the best, and explore him the world after he comes out of the institution. That is, I think, understanding student, understanding the talent, building on the talent, and remain connected with the student in a positive manner. I think that should be the ultimate word. Thank you.
Sir, what is your opinion about softwares? At which level software should be introduced for architecture programs?
In fact, software, I think that is a dichotomy. Software are ultimately, I'm going to tell you, the entire world is going to be driven by technology.
True.
In architecture, we will not be we can't be laggard. The moment we are laggard, what will happen? It's basically software people will take over architecture, because it's somebody they know much better these how to operate software. They can invent software, for designing any kind of building. But nevertheless, the architects, the domain of architects, that is conceptualization, and that's innovation. That should remain the strength. But architects should never be second to on technology. So technology tomorrow, once you are students are going after third year, maybe after, I don't know, after 6 semester you are sending, or after 7 semester you are sending for training, and ultimately no architect has a drawing board on this. They are all looking at technology. And in fact, what I would suggest, the student must be made aware. He must be made competent, but he should be able to use a skill. He must know the use to hand. He can evolve a design with the hand, and then can work on the technology to finalize it. But the domain of architecture, using hand, the brain will only work when you use the hand. So you should be able to, that is the biggest technology human as architect we have, and that should not be lost.
Yeah, very true, very true. Thank you, sir. VC sir has already joined.
Okay.
So
good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, we may start now.
Yes,
surely,
sir. Yes.
Surely, we'll wait for you.
A very pleasant good morning to everyone. On behalf of the Sri Vaishnav Institute of Architecture family, I, Jannavi Manjrekar, welcome you all to this event. Today, we have gathered here on this online platform for a webinar organized by Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalay's IGBC student chapter on the topic, How to Make a Building Green. We are extremely glad to have with us today our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Upinder Dhar, member of IGBC Indore chapter, Architect Himanshu Shah, Director of SVIA, Architect Vishal Yadi sir, and our guest of honor, as well as the speaker for today, Chairman of IGBC Chandigarh chapter, Professor Jeet Kumar Gupta. Honored to have you all here today. Let us now commence the event by worshipping Goddess Saraswati. I now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, to deliver the welcome address to the gathering.
Good morning to all of you. At the outset, I would like to welcome Chairman IGBC Indore Chapter, Architect Jitendra Mehta ji, and our guest speaker, Professor Jeet Kumar Gupta, Chairman IGBC Chandigarh Chapter, my colleagues, Architect Vishal Yardi, faculty colleagues, guests, and my dear students. Shri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya is a very young university. We are only 6 years old, and were established, this university was established by the act of the legislation in 2015, January 2015. Right from the beginning, when we had to decide the disciplines, we thought that we should have a balance between the professional disciplines and traditional disciplines. Amongst the professional disciplines, one of the disciplines that we chose was architecture, because we felt that architecture is a very important discipline and has great scope in the development process. But at the same time, we also felt that we need to offer something different to the students so that holistic development could take place. For example, in this university, professional ethics, there is a course on professional ethics, which is compulsory for all the students. Unless a student has passed that course, degree cannot be awarded, irrespective of the discipline, whether he is in professional discipline or traditional discipline. Similarly, we feel that students should be sensitive towards environment. They should be conscious about the environment and must understand and realize the value of caring for the environment. Therefore, we designed one course on energy and environment studies, which is also compulsory for all undergraduate students. In the case of architecture, we consciously approached IGBC to have activities in the area of sustainable development, because when we talk about green building, this is a major step towards sustainable development. Our university is having a chapter, student chapter, IGBC student chapter, and architect Vishal Lyardi has been organizing many activities under this chapter in last few years. I'm very happy that today we are having a webinar with Professor Jeet Kumar Gupta as resource person. And all students, faculty, and all of us will be benefited, greatly benefited by his deliberation. So not standing for a long between the guest speaker and all of you, I welcome once again Mr. Mehta, Architect Mehta, and Architect Jeet Kumar Gupta to this very important webinar. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Panshu sir to shed light on IGBC Indore chapter's activities. He is currently involved in the marketing, membership, student chapters, and policy and advocacy related activities of IGBC in Gujarat, MP, Maharashtra, and Goa. He has been associated with the IGBC since 2012. I take the opportunity to invite Architect Himanshu Shah to speak a few words.
Thank you. Dr. Upender Dar, Vice Chancellor Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, Mr. Vishal Lyardi, Faculty Coordinator for IGBC Student Chapter, dear students and faculty, a very good morning and a warm welcome for the sessions. I feel privileged to be a part of this session on how to make a green buildings organized by IGBC Student Chapter of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit as a part of Student Chapter initiative. We at IGBC always take great pride and pleasure in guiding the students on latest trends and advancement related to green buildings. When I see the students in front of me who care about sustainability, I feel contented. As we know, with a world population of 7 billion people and limited natural resources we as individuals and societies need to learn to live together sustainability. We need to take actions responsibly based on the understanding that what we do today can have implications on the lives of people and the planet in future. Education for sustainable development empowers people to change the way they think and to work towards sustainable environment. An architect has to play a very key and vital role for this. I'm sure our today's speaker, Mr. Jeet Kumar Gupta, sir, in this session will give us a great inspirations and a new dimensions to the minds of students. So I will not take much of your time. I would like to conclude my address with a quote of Swami Vivekananda: "See for the highest, aim at the highest, and you will reach the highest." Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, let me now introduce you all to our speaker for this session. Architect Jeet Kumar Gupta, with professional and academic experience spanning over 52 years, policy planning, architectural education, urban planning, and green built environment, was founder director, College of Architecture at IET, and past advisor, Town Planning, Punjab Urban Development Authority. He holds fellowship of Institute of Town Planners, Institute of Architects, and is a senior fellow at Indian Green Building Council. He has been Vice President, IIA, co-opted member of the Working Group Planning Commission of India for preparing planning framework for 9th 5-year plan, past Chairman, BOS Architecture, Punjab Technical University, and currently he is a Chairman of Chandigarh Chapter, IGBC, member State Level Road Safety Council, Chandigarh, and Chairman, BOS and AE, IIA. As a winner of numerous academic and professional awards, he has delivered guest lectures in 5 universities of US, ACA 12, China, SARC Kathmandu, Bhutan, and Switzerland, and served as a member of the jury for ACA 19 Awards for Excellence in Architecture. As a guest faculty, he is closely connected with a number of reputed universities and academic institutions at regional and national level. He has also worked as a team leader for World Bank Project, CADS, for 4 towns of Gujarat and Srinagar Master Plan, besides senior consultant for 6 master plans of Punjab and a member advisory committee Chandigarh Master Plan 2031. He has authored over 300 technical papers and 10 books on urban planning, housing, heritage, architectural education, Chandigarh, Amritsar, and sourcing land for urban development. We welcome you, sir. I hereby request Architect Jeet Kumar Gupta to share his thoughts with us.
Is my visible? No.
Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
Visible.
Yes, your presentation is yet to be visible.
It's visible.
Yes, sir, we can see your desktop.
Yes. Just let me connect it again here. That is what technologies. I'll have to recheck it.
So would you like to stop your presentation?
Yes.
Your screen sharing?
Yes.
I can do
Is
that.
it visible? Now is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the honor and opportunity to connect with such a great institution and the great university. I think it's a more than 140-year-old institution which have been built on traditions, and that makes the institution great. I'd like to place on record my thanks to Shri Upendra Dharji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Vaishnav Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, Mr. Vishal Yardi, Head of the Department of Architecture, Dr. M.P. Gautam from the Forensic Science, my colleague Himanshu, and their faculty and students. As has already been said, and that already I learned, there are two things which are being focused in your institute along with your professional learning and teaching. And that's your value-based education, that's professional ethics, and also environment and ecology, which you are valuing as a part of your own as a profession. So I think that makes education more holistic, more focused. I think makes you better equipped to understand the entire gamut of architecture, construction, and other aspects of the building. But to add to that, I'll be today trying to explain to you whatever little knowledge I have got over a period of time, because there's no end to the entire education. You continue to learn. And the best way to learn is to remain a student. You don't become a teacher. Remember, you become a teacher, I think you stop learning. So that makes a great, thing that you go on learning. So you gave me the opportunity to come back, to speak to you, to talk to you. I think that also made a learning for me, because as a student, I must understand myself before I am able to communicate. So today, looking at the environment, we'll be looking at the context of the building and in general, and green buildings in particular. As an architect, you will always be dealing with buildings. It's a built environment in the domain of all civil engineer, of all the architects. You'll be all connected with building right from the day one until you end your professional career. But I think building needs to be understood in more detail, in a more rational manner. Let building be not considered as dead entity made of brick walls, cement, mortar, glass, etc. No, they are breathing all the time. They have a lot of impact, and that's what we would like to understand. What buildings are, what constitute a building, what impact they have, and how the building can be major contributor to the environment and ecology and sustainability of this world. So I will now trying to explain to you that what buildings are. So I'll explain what the context of building is. Buildings have been part of the human history, growth, and development. You have seen when you are asked to, you are explained that it's the Indus Valley civilization, Roman civilization, Egyptian civilization. You are not teaching the human being, you are teaching only the buildings. Only the buildings are trying to showcase what that civilization was. So the day we came on this planet Earth, we started building in one manner or another to protect ourselves from, wild animals. The period was, the context were different, or to save ourselves from, the rain and natural elements. So building have been part of the human history, growth and development. Building shall continue to define our journey in future also. Tomorrow when we are gone, how will be? We will be defined the way the buildings we will leave. So building will remain relevant. So building, there are two environments which exist on this planet. One made by God, other made by the human being. So there is a natural environment and there is a man-made environment. Within the four walls which you are sitting, it's a you created that, and that's man-made environment. And outside, it's all the natural environment. So there are two environments, but they remain antithesis to another. All act of environment is basic, development is basically antithesis to the environment, and that's what the role of architects is. How to minimize those conflicts and contradiction, and how to make buildings promoters of environment and ecology, and making value addition to our sustainability. So let's understand buildings are living organisms. They are catering to all human activities. And we have only 4 activities basically defined. If you define, look at your life cycle. You are here for living. You are here for working. You are here for, looking after your human bodies and intellect, it's a care of body and spirit. And last is, you are traveling all the time. So if the building, if you are able to provide the best of option for quality living, best of the option for working, if you are able to make people happy and healthy, and then you minimize their walking and travel, I think you have done the job. It's both for architects and town planners. This entire gamut of city planning and all your building, etc. So therefore, I think we have to understand buildings are one which are going to be relevant for all human activities, not only the present, but also the future. But please, despite all these positive, positivities, buildings are known for their negativities also, because buildings are largest consumer of energy, resources, generator of waste. They are polluter of environment and ecology. They are generators of largest carbon footprints and are leading to global warming. So, global sustainability will depend upon how we plan, design, construct, and maintain and operate our buildings. So buildings are responsible for making you happy, for making you unhappy, for making you healthy, for making you sick. And that's very important for simple reason. 80% of the total human life is spent within the 4 walls of building. If you quantify, if you are living for 80 years, 64 years you will be in the 4 wall of building. It may be your home, it may be your school, tomorrow may in the office, or, or entertainment, anywhere you go for shopping. 80% of the human life is spent within the buildings. And in the time of COVID-19 and pandemics, this figure has already gone more than 90%. So if you are spending 90% of your time within 4 walls of the building, you can understand what the context of the building can be shaping the human life. And Churchill categorically said, we construct the building, and then the building define how the human beings are going to live. So building remain vital for humanity, for ecology, for sustainability, and they are required, for making value addition to resources, environment, and ecology. Studies have gone into making, that if you have a green school, your learning becomes much easier and much meaningful. If you are living in a greenhouse, you are making people happy, healthy, and more productive. A green hospital cures patient very quickly, and a green shopping mall leads to a lot of profit. So if you look at the entire context of the building, you can divide a building into 7 layers, That's right. When you look at the site, then you start planning and designing, construct, operate, and after, after you have construction, you occupy the building, you maintain it. Then, after the building has outlived life, you demolish the building or reconstruct the building. So I think that remains very, very important. All these 7 layers are consumers of energy, resources, and generator of waste. And therefore, it's very, very important that you as an architect or engineer are looking at buildings, because you are responsible for planning, designing, construction, and operation. And we know the buildings have, connectivity with regard to resources, environment, and ecology. So therefore, creating a sustainable built environment remains your duty, your responsibility, and that's what we were looking at. As Himanshu said, we are 790 crore, we are 790 crore people in this planet, and we were in 1804 only 100 crore. 1804, in last 217 years, we have added 690 crore. We have grown 8 times more than that, And this is a fair, picture which tells all those 125 countries which exist on this planet, and the size of the circle tell you the size of the population. There are 5 continents which are listed in terms of color. That's Africa, America, Asia, Europe, and Oceania. And you can see how Asia is leading, which is in red. China and India, we jointly hold 37% of the total population of the world. And we have lot of role and responsibility in making sure, because a lot of the built environment is going to come in India and China. They are already coming, and that's what in India is, that we were 121 crore in the year 2011. We are going to be 150 crore by 2050. And, we are going to be the most populated country in the world in the next 15 years. We'll take over China, shortly. And that's what it is. When more people are being added, we need more cities, we need more building, we'll need more housing and education, healthcare, and all other institutions. But please understand, India is in a very difficult position. We have 2.4% of the land of the world, I'm repeating, 2.4% land of the world. Whereas how much population we have? 17.7% of the population. That's 1/6 of the population we have, and that is what the context is. You have to look at land, you have to value land, you have to preserve, conserve, and make sure land is treated as a natural gift and not a commodity for commercialization, etc. When I talked about buildings, I talked about its, implication in terms of resourcing and environment. And let me explain to you what those implications are. The 1/6 of the total water which is withdrawn on this earth is used in the making of a building. 1/4 of the wood harvested, 1/3 of the total raw material which is extracted on this planet is all used in building. Half of the energy which is consumed over the life cycle is all done by the building. And 1/3 of the carbon emission can be attributed to the building itself. 40% of the municipal waste and half of the ozone depletion, chlorofluorocarbons are the outcome, the way the buildings are being planned, designed, and they are being air conditioned. And 30% of the people who are in hospital, visiting hospital, going for consultation, they are primarily suffering from the, dilemma of sick building syndrome, because they are not living in healthy buildings, and that's what this is leading to, making them sick. So if you look at this, 70% of the global warming is coming from two things, the buildings and the way we travel. And if you are able to make our building rational, energy efficient, and we are calling now a zero energy building, and we can minimize the transportation, and we travel, using not fossil fuel, but, electrical or other kind of fuel, which is not based on the fossil fuel. I think you have done your job. And looking at the kind of projection we were having in terms of the growth of population, it has been concluded by McKinsey Global Institute in its research that India needs 700 to 900 million square meter of space. 700 to 900, that means 70 से 90 crore square meter जो है, वो built up space will be needed every year. That's equivalent to Chicago City. That means India has to construct a Chicago City every year, in order to overcome the need of the built environment. So therefore, I think building have to be looked more holistically and more rationally. If you look at the context of the construction, earlier there were 3 parameters which were there. They remain still relevant, They were saying cost, quality, and time, Everybody owner which comes to you, please, you want to design, I want to design a building or construct a building, please make sure that it should cost minimum, number 1. Number 2, it should be taking minimum time to construct, and there should be highest quality. But they are tried, they're part of a triangle. And you can see, if you're trying to achieve one, 2 are opposite. If you're trying to cut down the cost, I think quality will go down and time will go up, If you are trying to improve the quality, cost will go up and time will be required more. But then it was thought of that it is not the cost, quality, and time which are the determinant of a building, because building are, involved with the resource consumption, biodiversity, and environment. According to building have to be seen in the larger context of minimizing depletion of resources, conserving biodiversity, and reducing harmful emission. And then they said the building don't have a local context, they have global context, So accordingly, buildings have to be looked in a much wider connotation, not confined to the site where they are located. So if you cumulatively look at the things which we have decided so far, I think we know there are 7 layers into which all buildings are constructed, operated, the life cycle of a building. That's siting, design, construction, operation, maintenance, renovation, and deconstruction. But what a building does, it goes on consuming. It consumes energy, water, material, and natural resources. What the outcome is that it generate waste, pollute air, pollute water, indoor air, and create heat island. And cities are being flooded, and there's a lot of noise. And ultimately, what is the impact? It's a human health, it's environmental degradation, and it's a loss of vital natural resources. And you must have heard this SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 goals which have been enunciated by UNO. That's called the Paris Agreement. And they say these goals remain very, very relevant. And all nations must try to achieve those goals. And they say 2030 is the first line which part of these goals should be achieved, and 2050 is the ultimate, when all these goals are achieved. And goal 11 remains relevant to us, that sustainable, that cities must be made sustainable, and sustainable human settlements, which should be inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And there are 9, targets below that goal, and one is that the building needs to be planned, designed, constructed, and maintained as a zero energy building. Let me look at, that you are trying to understand that buildings, we were now talking energy efficient building. What is energy efficient building means? Whatever energy is consumed by building, you are trying to lower down the consumption level. Building will continue to go, consume energy, come what may. They require energy to go ahead, Secondly, if building, that is the first stage of energy, efficiency. Second is, the zero energy building. That means whatever energy is being consumed by building, it is also being produced by building. And third stage will be, building will be energy positive building. That means building will be producing more energy than what they are consuming. That's ultimate test of the building you will be designing and you will be constructing. So accordingly, it's possible, that we can make buildings as promoter of environment and ecology. And there are 4 options which we can use. That's one is number 1, you adopt an integrated approach to creating built environment, design your building, evolving climate responsive or passive design, what you call it. Thirdly, you make your building energy efficient by using low energy material, equipment, and technology. And lastly, please retrofit your existing buildings. And that's what is remaining very, very important. So in order to all these address these issues, to make building sustainable, building least consumer of energy and generator of waste, there is a new area which is emerging. And that's what the so-called as the green building. And that, that sustainable development goals also say that we need to develop a green buildings. So what we mean a green building, I think we should understand what defines a green building, what constitutes a green building, and what the theme remains of my presentation is. So a green building is one, you have 5 parameters listed here, which makes a building green. A green building uses less water. Number 1, water. Number 2, optimizes energy efficiency. So second remains energy. Third, conserve natural resources. So all resources which goes into making of all components which are used in the building. That is the third, issue. Generate less waste. That means you are not going to have any waste. This is zero waste. All circular economy we're talking about. All waste this is not a linear process, but a circular process which we are talking about. And lastly, it makes healthier spaces. for the occupants. Ultimately, buildings are being designed and constructed for home, It's not for us as architects or this. We're designing for people, If we're designing a hospital, a hospital is for the patient, It's a school, it's for the children to learn, So all buildings are designed because they're going to be some kind of a user. And with that user must have the best of the space. So this remains the total context of the green building. That's energy efficiency, water efficiency, conserving natural resources, generating less waste, and ultimately, creating healthier spaces for livability of the people who are going to be used. And green building offers a lot of benefits. There are tangible and intangible benefits. Tangible benefits remains, that since you are saving energy to the extent of 50%, you are saving water to the extent of 40%. That means you are getting reduced bill every time, and that's your saving. And the building will continue to save till it remains on this planet. So it's a life cycle, reduction. And it's not a reduction. You are getting lesser bill. Please understand, you are consuming less. That means whatever was going to be lost for a year, now it will last for 2 years because you are consuming only 50% of that. So therefore, without compromising your quality and without compromising with your activity. Second is the intangible benefit. Intangible benefits are what, they are the benefit, basically, they are benefit which you can't quantify, but they are nevertheless, they remain benefits. And that's what remains very, very important for us. And they are more important because they reduce impact on environment and they are making people safe, healthier, and more productive. And that's very, very important. Somebody asks, that you make a building, the building, green building, it is going to be expensive. Surely, we would like to talk to you and share with you what would be the cost of this. This is the actual case study which has been done. The first case study was the first building in the country which was platinum rated outside USA. That was, rated by IGBC, is the headquarter of Indian Green Building Council at Hyderabad, And if you ever have an opportunity to visit Hyderabad, we'll make arrangement for you to visit that building. That building is now zero energy building. This building was designed by architect Karan Grover in the year 2003. This was having a footprint of 20,000 square feet, It was platinum rated and the cost was 18% more than what the normal. So where you spend for 100 rupees, you will be spending 100, worth spending 118 rupees. For the simple reason, at that time, most of the things were imported, Over a period of time, India has grown and most of the products are being manufactured and accordingly, the cost has been lowered to a considerable extent and cost will depend upon, as an architect, how much you are aware, how much you are conscious, and what kind of strategies you adopt while designing a building to make it green building. And I can tell you, there cannot be a substitute to an architect. If you do a wrong job, no building can be made sustainable. It is only, you are trying to do a firefighting, but main responsibility and role to make building green shall rest with the architect. So right in the beginning, you at the design level, you will do that. And the Suzlon One Earth, which is the 2010, which has a 8 lakh square feet, the built up space, it was platinum rated. It got only 2% was the cost more than against 100. It was 102 rupees, and that was recovered within 2 years. When you look at the cost of the building, please don't look at the initial cost of the building. Look at the life cycle cost, because you understand it's just at averages. A building cost initially only 10%, whereas 90% cost of the building is your money is spent on its maintenance, operation, and different kind of activities over the rest of the period. So we are only looking at 10%, but we are not bothered about 90%. So I think when you look at the building holistically, and if you want to make the building more cost effective, energy efficient, and responsive to the environment and ecology, I think you please look at the life cycle cost. And how you approach the green building, I think the best option will be to take a decision at the earliest level that you are going to have a green building. That's more important, rather than after the building is, halfway down, then you think. I think that will be more costly, more expensive, and will require changes and demolition of and reconstructing some of the parts. So if you have to make a building, please decide right in the beginning before you start constructing, before you even decide designing, that you are going to have. You tell the client it's better you to have a green building. Secondly, you have to see to what level of greenness you are going to achieve, because there are different parameters, and they say you have to have a different score. You can go to the highest level, platinum, you can go to gold, you can go to silver, you can go even for rating also as a green. But that, the higher you go, more score you will have, and accordingly you have to be spending more, and you have to be more cautious. So you have to set your goals. Thirdly, you have to create a team. Its team will comprise of an architect, engineer, consultant, and experts, who have a knowledge and understanding of the green concept, so that they can do justice. Please understand, green building is a teamwork. This is not an individual work, and this team works right from the beginning before designing, and they continue to work till the project is completed, and they go on monitoring after, that whether the goals set by for the building have been achieved or not. And then you have to have a integrated approach to designing of the building, for the reason building have to be considered holistically as one, not divided into roof, walls, or any services, or plumbing, or electricity, etc. They are all holistically, they are all involved and integrated into this. So when now, after you have looked at the building, let's go in how to design a building, how you approach as an architect, how to design a green building. I said the concept, the approach will have to be, you have to adopt an integrated approach to building design. That means you will look at all the aspects of the building and all the designing, even material technologies, climate, sun movement, wind movement, planning and designing, all they will go, and indoor air quality that will constitute the green building itself. So that will be looking holistically at the building. So first thing will be, you have to design based on climate, and please understand, climate comprises of what? Climate comprises of the solar radiation, number one. Number two, the humidity. There are many factors which go into, making of a climate. But please understand, there's a difference between climate and weather. And weather is one which changes every minute and every day. And climate is done after studying, collecting data, analyzing, and averaging over a period of 30 years, that when you come to the conclusion what the climate of the particular area is. So you will plan for climate, not for a weather. Please be very careful, So then the climate, you are looking at three levels. The regional level, where you are located, where India is divided into 5 regions. Then mesoclimate, the city level climate, and last will be your site climate, that remains very, very important. So first is study of climate. Then your orientation, where is north, south, east, and west, that you should know what are the advantages, positivity and negativity of this all north, south, east, and west. Then how the sun moves in winter and summer, because sun is the only original source of energy and light, and you have to make optimum use of the sun movement. Then you are looking at the wind, how the wind moves. And wind doesn't move in one direction; it moves in 2 directions. But predominant period during which this air moves, you have to record that, because you have to promote ventilation in the building. Then you look at the planning of the building. And when you look at the site of the building, please understand, there are good side in a building, there are bad, directions in a building. West could be, like in our hot climate, west remains the most problematic thing. So when you have to plan your buildings, what you do, you analyze your total requirement, divide them into where the human beings are going to live and which are which are spaces which are not going to be used by human beings. So accordingly, the areas which are going to be used by human beings, they must have the maximum comfort. So they must be put in the area position which have good orientation, and in the non-living area can go into the area where there is poor orientation. So that's what, by planning, you can, by optimizing your site, shape, and spaces, and then allocating where they are going to be located, I think you are able to make the more building design more rational. Then the envelope, that's your walls, that's your roof, that's your openings, that's your fenestration, that's what your louvers, all this. And this is your building envelope, determines the personality of the building. So that's what you have to come to the conclusion, that how much windows are there, where the windows are to be placed, how the openings to be there, how the air is to be inlet, and the exhaust is to be done, so that you understand what is the shape and what is going to be height, where are the openings going to be there, so that you are able to have the minimum heat gain or heat loss, because heat gain and heat loss is primarily and essentially done through walls, roof, your openings, doors, and windows, etc. Then you are looking at, after you have done your all this exercise of designing, then your construction come, and then you look for a material. And what are the material you are going to use? Material which are cost effective, which are material efficient, and they are made from material waste. That's what you are, and then the material have to be used in the natural form, and they must be having less load, so that the load of the building, self load of the building, gets minimized, and you have your lighter structure, and you have lesser need of those this structural design, etc., and less cement and steel you will be requiring. And then what will be technology, which have to be cost effective, material efficient, and it should do the job in quickest manner without wasting anything, and also making sure that you have the best of the quality of the construction. Then indoor air quality remains another area. That's the best, where you want that people to live in, where the people are, these living spaces, they provide you the optimum comfort and optimum living condition, so that people become happy, healthy, and remain more productive. So all green buildings are primarily and essentially based on what? The nature, and it's nothing but in nature, and in nature making use of the natural environment. So we know we are all made of Panch Bhuta, and those Panch Bhuta should also be used for making of this universe and also making of the building. It's a Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Akash. They are the one which are the major determining of the structure, construction, planning, and design of the building. And Prithvi remains your site, Jal remains water conservation, Agni remains your energy efficiency, Vayu remains your indoor air environment quality, and Akash your daylight, etc. All these five cumulatively construct this. But we were talking about, first we were talking about the climate, and let's understand there are 5 climatic zones. There's hot and dry, warm and humid, moderate and cold, and composite, So each climate zone have their own implication in terms of heat, I talked about, and humidity, And accordingly, all building will have to be designed differently. And there can't be prototype building, which can be constructed in Indore, and tomorrow you construct the same building in Shimla or, Himalayas. No, they are different buildings they require. Or that building cannot be constructed in Bombay, because Bombay, the climate is totally different. So India is this. These are 5 climate zones. Red remains hot, dry. Then, along the coastal area, it's a warm and humid because there's a sea and there's a lot of humidity. There are temperate areas like Pune and also Bangalore, where temperature doesn't vary too much, cold. That means the area where the temperature variation is very, very large and the temperature remains largely below this ambient level. So you need heating all the time. And that's where Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, and the northeastern state, they are located. And rest of the country, where the every 2 months or 3 months, the weather changes, the climate changes. That means there is extreme hot, extreme cold. There is mild hotness and mild cold. Then there's a rainy season. All these 5 seasons are there, and there is those who don't fit into any system of climate. They are known as the composite climate zone. So let's see how the heat is gained by building. Ultimately, you are trying to fighting with the heat. Either you are preserving the heat or you are trying to avoid the heat. And heat loss is 25% is through your roof, 35% is through your wall, 25% is through windows and doors, and 15% your remains your floor. So this is how on an average the total heat gain and heat loss is in the building. And ultimately we're always trying to fight the heat, either trying to preserve it or trying to throw it out, and that's what the mandate as an architect remains there. So if you are, designing your building any hot area, first thing will be, your first principle will be that you are minimizing the heat gain. And if there's a heat gain, you are making options, that heat is lost immediately. So that means you are trying to decrease the exposed area so that there's a minimum heat gain or gain or loss, because we found the critical role of the roof as well as the walls itself. So you insulate the building, and you have best of the thermal resistance. Then you increase the thermal capacity of this. That means building should itself act as a barrier. Those walls, etc., should act as a barrier to heat gain or heat loss. Then decrease heat air exchange, So when in a hot area, you don't have to have very wide window, on all these spaces. Of course, there are areas, I'll talk about north, south, east, and west, which direction they are facing, then you can decide. Then you increase buffer spaces. That means you are not allowing heat to strike directly or come to your living rooms, etc. So you are creating barriers in the shape of airlocks, your lobbies, balconies, and verandas. And then you are trying to increase shading. Shading by what? By projections, by using louvers, and then you can have a green roof and green walls, and you can also have landscaping trees, which can take care of the sun heat, etc. Then you are trying to make sure that building reflect in the hot area whatever heat they gain. So you will never paint dark in the hot area. All buildings shall be painted light, because light colors have the capacity to reflect back the heat, and heat is gained by what? Conduction, convection, and radiation. So you have to see all these three methods, how you can minimize the heat gain in the building. And then you can roof. From the roof, either you have a green roof or you do what? You put mosaic tiles so that heat can be reflected. Then reduce solar heat gain. So whatever heat comes from your windows, so you have to put that glass, which allows light to come in, but doesn't allow the heat come in. So you also, if the heat is gained, then you are make sure the the heat is made to loss, and that's what you will have a courtyard, you have a wind tower, and those kind of things which are available to you as a design options. How you can keep the things cool. So ultimately, in hot and dry area, beside other things which we are talking about, you can think of having courtyards. Courtyard remains the best option to make your house cool. And if you have water body, if you have tree inside, this will further cool down, and you will find all the rooms adjoining that area will always be very, very having ambient temperature, where you don't need any kind of cooling at all. That's what the ambient of this. You can have a cavity walls, You can have, rat trap method of constructing walls so that you can, because air is a bad conductor of heat, so they can air will not allow this. So either you have a cavity wall built in, or you will have a rat trap method. Similarly, for warm humid, in addition to you are keeping the sun or heat away, you are trying to what? You are fighting with humidity, because there is lot of humid coming because you are close to the sea. So that is what, and that is the only way of fighting the humidity is, number one, either you have a cross ventilation, or number two, the mechanical system is dehumidifying the area. There are dehumidifier, which are mechanical system, which go on sucking and throwing these, these this humidity out of this. So in addition to what you are doing in the case of green building, you are this hot in the hot region, you are also fighting, taking care of the with the help of cross ventilation. So then comes moderate and temperature. There also the option remains how to reduce your heat gain and how to minimize the heat loss. In case of composite zone, where I said there is extreme hot area at season and extreme cold season, your option will be what? The house, designing building remains most difficult in this area, because you are trying to control all heat and then trying to attract the heat. So you have to reduce heat gain in summer, and you have to reduce heat loss in winter. That's one principle. And then you have to promote heat loss in this winter, this monsoon and summer also. And you have seen, in this context, how we do it. We will look at how the sun behaves, how the sun moves in, how you can bring the sun inside, and how you can cut off the sun during summer and winter itself. So that remains this area. This is IIT Kanpur, and this is one of the green rated building. They have been able to do it by preserving all those trees, protecting all the existing trees, then putting solar PV panels on the roof itself. They are generating electricity, but also they are shading the roof, to keep it cool. Then buildings are oriented north and south, and then there are solar outdoor lights, and you have minimum of paving, so that minimum heat island is created in this institute, so that the temperature don't rise. So that's the ambit is. But when you do a building design in a cold, you have to be extra cautious. In the earlier period, what we were trying to do were fighting the cold heat, and throwing the heat. Here you have to bring the heat inside. In that case, the best option was north, where sun never comes in. But please, when you do in the hilly area, you never ever design a building on the northern side. All northern slope should be banned in hill areas, because they never get the sunlight. So therefore, it will be criminal on the part of an architect, unethical on the part of architects, to design any building on the northern slopes, number one, and any building, building facing north. So this is what you can think of east, you can think of west, you can think of west, south, bringing all kind of things, and all living area have to be put in these three directions, but never ever in the northern direction. You can put, all those non-living area like storage, like your car garage, like anything, they can go in these negative areas. So there, you are following the system. You are not allowing the building to lose heat, and then you are capturing heat all the time wherever it is available. There we were trying to do what, we were trying to have lighter color to reflect all the heat. Here we will do what, you will put darker color. All building will be painted dark, so they can all capture the sun heat and transmit it to the building, You could have trombe wall. A trombe wall is what, It's a wall which is constructed as a glass glazing, between there's a space left between the wall and the glass, and it's put on the southern side. When the heat The sun heat hits it, it warms the air. Warm air is a light air. It goes out, and they bring the fresh air, which is a cold air, which is a light air, and that gets heated. And then you have it with the change of pressure, you will find the entire building can be heated. So the Trombe wall, it doesn't need a mechanical system of pushing any air. It is a passive system of, designing the building. Then you can have a solarium, A solarium is nothing but on the southern side of the house where you have the maximum sunlight available. You have a glass house, and glass, capture all the heat, and, this heats up the air, and then this air can be circulated within the home, and you can have you can achieve the warmth in the room without any heating process. So after going through the the climatic zone, you look at the site. I think site remains very, very important, and most of the things are lost because we don't understand the site. As an architect, I would suggest that you must understand, look at the site, look at the right, left, top and bottom of the site. And if you understand the context of the site very well, I think you will never be able to do a wrong design. So site context remains very, very important. There can't be premeditated design solution. Of course, you are seeing so many things, what you are going to do is you will copy and then trying to paste on this. This is not the things which you needed. In fact, if you look at the building, look at the site, shape, its location, its orientation, wind direction, the soil condition, the topography, the vegetation, the hydrology preparing of this, the kind of infrastructure existing therein, and what is around that building, and what are the good linkages and what are the bad linkages, where you have to avoid and where you have to focus. I think you will be able to conclude in a very realistic and rational manner how your buildings are to be positioned, how the building are to be shaped, what will be the orientation of the building, where the spaces are going to be placed, and that all will come out after you have done the site study and site analysis. So please understand the role of site remains very, very critical and important, and so all designs are response to the site condition and site study, and not otherwise a premeditated study. And then when you look at the site, what principle you are going to adopt while designing a building, you will see, what are the surrounding characteristics. If there are tall buildings, you will not construct a smaller, low height building. Then you have to construct a tall building, because all tall building will be shading your building and they will not allow the air, light and ventilation to come in. But if there are buildings which are of lower height, you will not create a tower, to block there. So you have to go by the general character which is prevailing, so that your building does fit in and it doesn't, create a problem for others. Then you look at the site, the flora and fauna. What are there? How many trees are there? Where they are located? What kind of vegetation is there? And please do that you don't have to cut any tree. That's one thing, the worst thing you are going to do, So all the vegetation which is existing, make sure you make optimum use of that. Particularly make sure no trees cut you. If there is a tree which is coming within your, built up area, if it's on the edge, give them a, shape your building and this around that tree itself. Secondly, if the building roof, if this tree comes in the building, then give a courtyard, adjust as a part of the building. You can do it. I know. As an architect, you have enormous options, enormous, ideas that you can make building this tree integral part of this. If there's a water body, don't fill it. If there are slopes, don't level it. That's not, you are respecting the site. You are trying to maintain it. You are understanding and you are accordingly designing. And then, you are trying, not covering the entire building, this site, but this is the most unfortunate thing we do. Whatever we are given, that there are so many setbacks, and what we start doing is right designing the building from outer edge to inner edge. Please keep your buildings footprints minimum. You cover the minimum site, have the larger open spaces available then you are not destroying any or doing any damage to the site. You have to work with nature and culture. If there's a large campus like you have a university, you don't have to promote, cars, etc. You have to see that this is entire campus is pedestrianized. You can come to the university, park your vehicle, but after that, you will not take your vehicle inside. You will all be walking or cycling or anything, whatever you want to do. And then for designing, you are trying to do what? Preserve, conserve, and regenerate the site. So if there is a site already available to you and where the construction was done, please make sure use that very site for construction rather than, finding a new site where there, I think you can do that. And that's where the ambit remains. Why? The building footprints have to be minimum. You must see, if there are no construction done, all water falling on that area, 50% goes into the earth for recharging, 40% is evapotranspiration, which goes back to the sea and come back again in water. Only 10% goes a runoff. The more you build, the more there is a runoff. And if you built more than 75%, then the ground recharging will be reduced from 50% to 15%. Runoff will rise from 10 to 55%, whereas the transpiration will be reduced from 40 to 30%. And if you finding the cities are being flooded, there was flood in Hyderabad, there was flood in, Kashmir, this Srinagar, and then there was a flood in this Madras. It was all outcome, we try to cover all kind of spaces and we build them and make them paka. The moment rain falls, the water runs off, and it is said it's a 5 times faster the water runs, and you can't, any system cannot manage it, and that's what there's a flooding. When you are having a contoured site, your option shall be what? Your option shall be designing along the contour, and if you have to do it across, please make sure that there's a minimum cutting and filling and tempering with the site. Looking at this, orientation, how the sun moves, and in the summer, sun moves around the north, it rises in the northeast, it sets in the northwest, and you can see, it will be traveling around 240 to 260 degrees. That means the sun will be much longer time traveling during the day, and the days are longer, and then the altitude is there, and you find, that buildings, that's the sun has a more altitude, more heat, and then more light is available during summer. In winter, the sun is around south, it rises in the southeast and ends up in the southwest, and it only travels for around 140 to 150 degrees. So that's why the days are shorter, sun height is less, and that is what the things are, that it is there, the area doesn't, the zone does not get very, very hot. So that is what is very, very important. So you have to understand how sun moves. Sun never rises in the north. So you will never have any direct sun coming in the north. Of course, you will have no north and east and northwest, for these kind of things. But never there is a light directly, sun coming from north. So if you want to light in an area, uniform light throughout the day without sun coming in, then put your things on the north. South remains the place which is hottest and where the sun is highest. But in summer it is very, very high. In winter it is low. So all southern side, the sun can be cut off during summer by giving a projection because it is vertical. In the winter, sun can immediately come in because it is, it is lower. So south remains very, very important and very good thing. East and west, sun is, horizontal, low sun. In the east, when it rises, Earth is also cool. Sun, will try to heat up, but it's not very, very hot. But west, is east side, you can use it. Southeast remains one of the finest sites, for all kind of living areas in in the hot region. But west is one, when sun in the evening again tries to set in. Earth is very hot, and again, sun is radiating same heat which was radiating in the morning. Sun never, decreases or increases. It's the earth which is becoming very critical, because earth, the day, through the day, it has been receiving the sun, it is radiating the sun, and that, cumulatively makes the west side is the worst side. So therefore, you have to avoid the west side, and you have to make sure no window or no living area is put in this. If you have to put in, then you have to be very careful that you make use of the louvers or the trees or the green walls, which can cut off the direct heat in this area, or you can obscure your windows, hide your windows, etc., in a in an architectural manner. So I think, as an architect, please make sure that you write down what are the positivity of north and negativity of positivity and negativity of each direction, both north, south, east, and west, so that you understand the context of these directions and how the sun moves and which is the best option available to you. So once you understand that and once you do it, it will be much easier, and your design will never fail on the altar of the, climate sustainability. This is one, in the hot area, your longer axis should be east-west, your building should be facing north and south, so you have the best of the benefit. You can see in the summer, the sun path is vertical. In winter, it is, much lower and horizontal. And that makes all the difference in the area, in the composite climate, how you make best use of the sun and how you avoid the sun. This is how, by designing, you can do that, that is on all this. I said south and southeast side, you have the best of your place, that's living, bedroom, kitchen and bath. But on the western or north or, western side, what could be workshop, would become, or other kind of spaces which are non-livable. Ventilation remains another area. Cross ventilation is one which is very important. Please understand, windows and doors are not to be given in a very unplanned or a haphazard manner. You have to think about how you have to understand how the air moves. If you have direct, you put one door there and other door right opposite, what will happen? The air will straightway go enter one place and go out, without providing ventilation in the rest of the area. Air is very straight, it can move directly wherever you provide a passage. But if you create an obstruction, it will find way. So you have to make sure the windows, doors in a room are placed in such a manner and positioned in such a manner that there you have the optimum use of cross ventilation, etc. And where the openings are there, that remains very important. And where there are multiple buildings, how they have to be positioned so that one building does not stop the circulation of the air of this. You can stagger, rather than putting in one line, you can stagger it, and then you will see that the air, you can make use of the air itself. The building, while designing, you can think of, I said, have minimum footprint. So you can make a building single story, you can make a 2-story, you can make a 3-story. And the example is, in this first, if you make a single story building within 18 square meter, the wall area is 40 square meter. And if you make the building double story, it becomes only 27 square meter. On one hand, you are reducing the area of the wall. That means you are spending less money on the construction of the building. Secondly, you are having less exposed area to the sun, etc. So therefore, if you make 3-story, you will find, that what could be the optimum combination to reduce the area of walls. The moment area of the walls is reduced, that means your bricks, your cement, mortar, etc., and the labor, etc., that component will go down and building will remain cost effective also and space effective also. And then how you cut off the sun in the southern direction, how you are orienting the building. If you put straight right in the face of the, air, you will having a stark effect. And if there are no opening, there will be no air available. So how you make the optimum use of the air moment, that's what you have to study very carefully and do it. Then we come to the energy, how you can save energy, how you can make building energy efficient. Number one, you will have to design, I said, with climate, with the orientation, etc. And that's what, your design shall be climate responsive architectural design. Looking at the figure, we saw, that which climate zone there and how the building is going to be positioned looking at this side. So ultimately, you are trying to evolve a climate responsive design and efficient building envelope. You are making optimum use. You please understand, you have to, if you are having single corridor or double corridor. So that remains very, very important. A single corridor is most, space inefficient because it takes a lot of circulation space. It's a double corridor, then, that remains very, very space efficient, circulation efficient, because you are dividing circulation into two spaces. But the depth of the room, the position of the room has to be such, their width and depth will have to be such, and the windows have to be positioned in such a manner that the last corner of the room will also have the daylight available to the extent possible. So you are depending minimum on the artificial light. So ultimately you are using sun and the air for your cooling and heating the building envelope. That is one, where you don't cost anything, because as an architect, you are designing the building. It doesn't require any kind of mechanical system. So design the best way to method to make a building green and the energy efficient is use a passive. Then, you have lot of equipment coming in, light, fans, air conditioner, and then, laptops, everything, you are there. Make sure they are star rated so that they consume lesser energy, least energy. And of course, that will cost more, but you will save a lot of money out of that. And third remains, that you produce your own energy. Let building produce its own energy. That means building should be having photovoltaic cell, or if you are in a zone in the southern side, you can have, even those wind towers put in this, and you can generate your own energy. So this is how three methods by which you can make building energy, I would say, energy efficient, zero energy, or energy positive building. So passive design, planning and design by those spaces, natural, using natural light. You have high efficiency lighting system. You have properly sized all those kind of system of air conditioning which you are trying to provide. Then you are trying to define the colors of the building depending upon whether you're in a hot or cold region. Then you are having, high R values. That means you are having the maximum resistance, heat loss and heat gain, Then glass, you are managing minimum glass on the western side. So then BIM is building modeling system remains another option with you is this. So you can buy your design, buy your material, you can reduce this, and it has been found, that where only in 1 ton of air conditioner will take care of 150 square feet, a green building will do the same job for 600 square feet. You can think of. And Infosys has now done that with 1 ton, they are able to cool the 1000 square feet of area. So that is the context of green building, and you can save this. Look at this industrial building. It's a daylight. There's no natural light. And this is all done by the north light itself. And that's what they have done. So you can, now there are bifacial solar modules. That means there are solar panels which generate electricity when the heat falls on this, but they also generate electricity when the heat is radiated from the roof itself, and both sides they have the, you know, faces, and they have more efficiency and then do it. What you can do is, you know, that when you do in the southern this cold area or any area where you want to have a photovoltaic cell, you can give your, you know, slanting roof on the top of that, and that slanting roof, so you don't need a superstructure. The stateway, those photovoltaic cells can be fixed right on the roof itself, and they will start generating electricity. You can build them as integral part of this. Daylighting remains, of course, very important. For that, we will have to consider what is going to be the height of room, what is going to be the depth of the room, and make sure, you know, and what is going to be the opening, you know, so that each and every corner gets the advantage of natural light. And if there is a problem, then you try to use the intelligent method, that you are trying to reflect by reflector. You are trying to, you know, reflect the natural light, you know, which goes in the lost corner of this. Even you can do the daylight harvesting. That means, like you are harvesting water, you know, you can harvesting the sun and light also. Well, how it is done? These are pipes which are taken out, which have a glass face, you know, and they are all taken out inside the room, and see, all the basement have been lighted without any artificial light. And this is how done, you know, you can have you by the system of daylight harvesting. So wherever there is a kind of a problem that you find that there will be perpetual light required, you can use this mechanism of daylight harvesting, you know. And you find, you know, that cities in the congested area, the temperature are very rising, and that you have no control over that, you know. That means there's a lot of heat line created, and you can see the core area of the city is around 7°F higher than the normal days. So this heat tries to does what, you know, this require the cooling load on the building, and accordingly building becomes energy inefficient, you know. So in fact, you can now look at the option, you know, roof to be made as green roof, and roof does lot of purpose, you know. Where there are no green area can be added on roof. This roof absorb a lot of water, you know. It can stop flooding, it can convert, it will absorb heat, it will not allow the heat to trickle down, you know. You can have vegetation. So there are so many you know, things which have been now experimented, and in German already 20% of the total roof area has been made as green, because of the distinct advantage they have, because they reduce runoff, they reduce air pollution, they improve air quality, they minimize greenhouse gas emission, they reduce carbon footprints of the building, they promote greenery, particularly in the area, you know, where it is very congested. It makes people healthy. It promotes optimum roof area, which is always very derelict and dirty. So that means you are adding the footprints of the building, this usable area within the building, without expanding the building. Then you are lowering down the air conditioning demand, you know, and you are promoting the air conditioning efficiency. So this is one method where you can use this kind of thing, and this is another way. Green this roofs are there. Of course, green roof has their limitation. They have cost. They have everything. They need to be done, but technologies are growing and growing. You know, but ultimately, green roof will become one of the very nice option for making the building green. So then, many countries, you know, green walls and green roofs are being made mandatory in order to cut down the energy and also making the building energy efficient. And we say, you know, the vertical building, the high-rise building are most energy efficient. No, they can also be made, you know, zero energy. And this is only done by an architect. How he designed the building? This is a Pearl River Tower, a 71-story high building built over an area of 2.5 hectares, you know, and it has a FAR of 20, you know. This is 23 lakh square feet of the built up area, and this building remains a zero energy building. What architect has done it, you know, he divided this building into 3 parts. There are 2, you know, there are air spaces which are there. So when you move up, the velocity of air moves up, he put the building right in the direction of the wind, and in the spaces which he created, he put the wind turbine. So wind turbine are all the time moving, and they are generating electricity. And that, there are besides solar panels and other photovoltaic cells, there are other kind of things. This system of, wind turbine, they are generating electricity, and this is made, the building as zero energy building. Water remains another thing. How you do it, what water you have to reduce. Fourth thing you will be doing, you have to refuse the use of water, you have to reduce water, recycle water, and reuse it. So this is, instead of 3, there are now 4 R's, dictating the water efficiency. So what you are going to do is, you are going to slow the flow. नलके का पानी जो है उसको कम करना है. पानी को जितना आप तोड़ दोगे, उसको छोटे छोटे हिस्सों में बांट दोगे, तो पानी कम कंज्यूम होगा. Then you do the rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharging, और पानी को एक बार यूज नहीं करना, सेम पानी को 3 बार 4 बार यूज करिए, and multiple use of water, and then how you do it, you have a dual plumbing system, you recirculate the water, and you are metering the use of water. So water remains very, very important, because aapko samjhiye, India has only 4% of the water of the world. It has 17.67% of the population, and in addition, it has the largest animal population, placed at 535 million. 53 करोड़ हमारे जानवर हैं जिनको पानी पिलाना है. उसके अलावा हमें ये जमीन से ये एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस करनी है, ताकि हम जो इतने लोगों को खाना खिला सकें. So that remains the context of water. ग्राउंड वाटर बिल्कुल यूज मत करिए, और पानी को कम से कम इस्तेमाल करिए. रेन वाटर को जितना हो सकता है हैंडल करिए. वाटर बॉडी जितनी है उनको प्रमोट करिए. पानी कैप्चर करने की कोशिश कीजिए, और पानी को जितना कम हो सके इस्तेमाल कीजिए. ठीक है. So this is also said, this is one way, phytoremediation. Phytoremediation क्या है? Phytoremediation is a process जिसमें सीवरेज ट्रीटमेंट सीवरेज ट्रीटमेंट करने के लिए आपको कोई भी प्लांट नहीं लगाना पड़ता. नो एसटीपी इज रिक्वायर्ड. इसमें क्या है? देयर आर प्लांट्स अवेलेबल. You will have the sewerage run through this, and the roots of the plant digest those organic things, and convert them into fertilizer, and the pure water comes in. Please understand that all the countries are trying to reinvent the system, how to recirculate the water. और सिंगापुर में अभी इन्होंने एक पानी निकाला है, न्यू वाटर. एंड व्हाट इज दैट न्यू वाटर? वो जितना सीवर का पानी है, उस पानी को इतने लेवल पर ट्रीट करते हैं कि नेचुरल वाटर से वो बेटर वाटर है. सो दैट्स व्हाट they are calling it new water, because they had a treaty with Malaysia to get water, and that treaty is getting expired, and then they have all sea, and they have very little potable water. They do the salination. So they are now doing what, they are trying to treat the sewerage water, and that's what they are selling as a new water. So सिंगापुर से अगर कोई भी आदमी आपको न्यू वाटर बेचता है, तो समझ लीजिए ये सीवर वाला पानी जो है ये ट्रीट करके आपको बेच रहे हैं. So, but nevertheless, this is the context of water. And then we look at the material, and material remains, I think, very, very important. And we have to obtain material from natural and renewable sources, and we make sure, use the material which is available from all the existing buildings. If they are good, they can make use of, and use local material in the natural form, rather than अगर आप ब्रिक यूज करते हैं तो ब्रिक के ऊपर प्लास्टर मत करिए. अगर प्लास्टर करेंगे तो पेंट करना पड़ेगा. पेंट करना पड़ेगा तो फिर और चीजें हर 3 साल बाद आपको पेंट करना पड़ेगा, and that will increase the cost. So any respective material, make use of that material in the natural form, and you find material look beautiful. Even concrete, concrete जब निकल के बाहर आती है, so you do, with the kind of those oils which are put in the shuttering, so that you have a smooth surface, and you will find concrete's exposed surfaces remain very, very important. And Lee Corbusier, what he did, he reinvented the this concrete in Chandigarh. All capital complex buildings have been made by those concrete, and they have never been painted, never been plastered, and that's what they remain sustainable. And in Chandigarh, why sustainability is there? Because no brick, all brick, majority of the building facades are brick, and they are allowed to remain there, and they don't need any care. So that's what the context of building is there. So either you reuse the material which are available from existing building, or you salvage material and recycle it, and then see, the God is the best architect, and he has given the best material which are appropriate, and the construction at the local level. Make use of those material. Of course, you can reinvent it, recycle, and those technology which is available over a period of time, they can do a great job to make sustainable buildings. So I said, building, construction, and demolition waste, that becomes another kind of opportunity for you to source good thing which can be used, and it has been made mandatory now in many countries, and this Canada, that you have to, if you are trying to build a place where already building was constructed, all the demolition, those waste, construction waste, more than 70% you have to consume within the building, one shape or other, and only 30% you are allowed to go. The moment you are using, dumping the material outside, that means you will have to pay for that, and that becomes very, very expensive. Fly ash brick, you all know, made of the brick, which is, ash generated in the thermal plants, and India generates 70% of energy through burning the coal, and there you get the ash. But this brick has a great advantage in terms, because it's a reduced embodied energy. It is not burnt because it is already made of the material which is burnt. This is environmental friendly because there is no heating involved. This is excellent thermal insulation. That means neither it allows the heat to be gained or allowed to be, lost. Then it's highly fire resistant, and there is no efflorescence. That means the white patches which you see on this all brick structure, they never exist, because all this chemical and all those salts are burnt. This autoclaved area, concrete is another kind of option, which is lightweight, which saves you cost, energy, and transportation, and it is very easy to put in, and also it survives best in the seismic area because it's it's very lightweight. Then it's machine made. It's not much technology required. It can be put in a very faster way, and then it is very nice in insulation, and of course texture wise it is very good, and it can be used simply as such, and there is no need of plastering or anything. If you want anything, you can do only POP on this and to improve that kind of thing. Then UPVC remains another kind of option for doors and windows because they are excellent insulator. They don't allow heat to be lost, which we were talking about, 25% is lost through those windows and doors from the creaks when they are joined this. So it doesn't allow that because it's tight. It doesn't require any maintenance. It is not impacted by acid rain or industrial pollution, and you don't require any kind of maintenance by painting or there is any structural damage. So that is very, very cost effective. And bamboo is one option. You must be all knowing. Bamboo is known to be steel of 21st century, where bamboo steel is being used. It will be bamboo which will be there. Bamboo remains for its structural advantage. It's a lightweight, cost effective, durable. It's very, very fast growing. Even there are varieties which grow 4 feet in a day. It's simple to design, reduce the use of waste, and then it sucks in carbon dioxide to a large extent, and it reduces it promotes indoor air quality, and that's very, very important, that we for making people happy and healthy. And indoor air quality remains important for people to remain healthy, to remove tiredness, to avoid concentration, and to avoid any kind of illness, because the quality of inside air, we are all exhaling carbon dioxide, we are inhaling oxygen. So if the room is not supplied with fresh air, what will happen? You will exhaust all oxygen and you will be exhaling carbon dioxide, you will be inhaling carbon dioxide again, and then your entire metabolism will be, will go wrong, and you'll not be, and you will have headache and so many other problems. And that's what you need, fresh air all the time. So ultimately, say outcome, the poor indoor air quality is because of poor ventilation, outdoor. This is impurities coming in. Then somebody smoking, then you are using inside your material for all painting and our flooring. Please make sure that you don't use material which is based on the chemicals. And what is happening? They are all chemicals are getting absorbed in air, and that you are inhaling. So you will have, product which have low volatile organic compounds, then you have to make sure that there are no, carpet put in the room. You think carpets are doing a great job. Carpets are, I think, the worst kind of thing. The dust, the microbes which go into that, they cannot be cleaned. So that is what you have to be very clear, and then please don't use phenyl for cleaning your room. And that is what, and all, wood you are using in the room, you make sure that no chemical used for varnishing or, this polishing that area. So this is what remains very important. We are not looking at this indoor air quality, but that is the one which remains in addition to air, light, and ventilation. Well, that is what which determines the, quality of living in this, and that you have to make sure that the people inside have all natural views, light, ventilation, and also fresh air coming in all the time. So that remains the ambit. So that is what we say, bring fresh air, incorporate natural light, design for year end, that means no noise should be there. Then environmental comforts, and you use plants to bring in this. Three plants I'm suggesting: Erica plant, palm, snake plant, and money plant. These plants, they are indoor plant. They don't cost anything. You can put it in your room, they're like Shivas. What they do, they suck in all carbon dioxide and they all leave oxygen. So you will have fresh air. Put in your classroom, put in your offices, put in your home, you will find there are so many plants which you can use it for this, So this is what the total ambit is of green building is. And of course, when you talk about, I'm sorry, I can't explain this. This is a brief what I've tried to explain it. But ultimately, what we'll ask, how you say this building is a green building or not, then it is done through a rating system, and rating system are designed by different organization. It is Indian Green Building Council. You have a student chapter, which is basically you know about this. What IGBC does it? IGBC does, frame policies, programs, and creating awareness among students and professionals to make sure that they all design green building itself. So more than 90% of the total built up space is rated by green building for IGBC, and it's already IGBC has gone to the level of 3.86 billion. That means 786 crore square feet is already space which has been under the ambit of IGBC, which remain the pioneer, in addition to GREHA and GEM and the USGBC. In fact, USGBC started this in collaboration with IGBC, and IGBC has grown over a period of time independently. There are 29 rating systems which are available, and all of these rating systems are basically looking at 7 factors. That is sustainable architectural design, site selection, water conservation, energy conservation, building material, indoor air quality, and if you are doing any innovation and development. All these are rated, and they are all designed, defined into 52 parameters. 10 are, compulsory, and 42 are optional, but all have weightage, and you have to, comply to that, and then you are given marks, and then you are seeing that where you stand. If you score between 40 to 49, you get best practices. For, certified building, 50 to 59, you get silver, and 60 to 75 is gold, and 74 above 75, you are platinum. But looking at the entire context, I think green building is one which makes you happy, healthy, more productive. provide highest quality of indoor environment, optimizes energy, reduces waste, minimizes carbon footprints, and makes building operations cost effective and energy efficient. And it create a, it is never ever a damaging thing. It creates a win-win situation or positivity for both owner and the user in and both individual, community, city, state and nation and the planet. So green building remains most relevant and most important. And in fact, a green building can't be a slogan. It should be made as a part of the professional practice and professional ethics and professional thinking, that whatever you will do, you will design a green. By doing that kind of thing, it's not that you are doing any kind of charity or service. In fact, you are doing much more. You are trying to serve the cause of the humanity, because you are promoting the ecology, environment, sustainability of this planet Earth, for which this entire world is trying. So architects and engineers, you both have very important role cast for you, and you are relevant, you were relevant, you will remain relevant. And I can tell you, no sustainability on this planet Earth can be achieved till architects make this as integral part of this, and you are able to create green building. So future will depend upon you. And I hope you have a slight understanding of what green building is, how you can do it, but you have to innovate, you have to experiment, you have to look back how you are designing building, and there remains enormous option. You have to be always positive. You have to all learn, you have to all collaborate and make sure that you grow and grow. There are two ways, in which people look at things. One time, Akbar told Birbal, here is a line, please make it shorter. So अगर मैं आर्किटेक्ट होता, मेरे पास होती रबड़ होती, तो अगर वो पेंसिल में लाइन लगी होती, मैं उसको रेज करता पहले, हाँ रबड़ मारता. अगर होती इंक में, तो उसको ब्लेड से रब करता, उसको छोटा करने की कोशिश कर. दैट्स वन वे ऑफ डूइंग थिंग. बट उसने अकबर ने, बीरबल ने ऐसे नहीं किया. वो वेरी इंटेलिजेंट. उसने उसके पैरेलल एक बड़ी लाइन लगा दी. he just drew a line which was a longer line, और वो लाइन खुद भी खुद छोटी होगी. सो पहला तरीका रबड़ मारना या ब्लेड मारना इज द नेगेटिव थिंग. एंड सेकंड इज you grow yourself, you remain positive. और एक चीज मैं बता दूं आपको, आप में ही देवता है, आप में ही लेवता है. दुनिया में देवता कोई ऊपर नहीं बैठा हुआ, आप ही देवता है, आप ही लेवता है. जो आदमी ग्रैब करता है, जो चोरी करता है, जो सबकी चीजें उठा के ले जाता है, वो क्या है? लेवता. और जो देता है वो क्या है? देवता. तो आपको डिसाइड करना है आप लेवता है देवता है. और एक चीज मैं आपको बता दूं, देने वाला कभी गरीब नहीं होगा, लेने वाला कभी अमीर नहीं होगा. दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू थिंक. एंड इफ यू आर पॉजिटिव, you will grow. If you are negative, you will shrink. So please understand, share with your colleague, work together, learn together, but have a good company. It's not a bad company. No bad company can lead you anything. So therefore, it's not, आप बहुत इंटेलिजेंट होने चाहिए. इंटेलिजेंस तो भगवान की दिया. आप 10% हो सकते हैं, मैं 5 हूं, लेकिन हार्ड वर्क का कोई सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं. Go on doing. And please understand one thing. As a student, you are not doing a charity. You are not studying for your parents. You think मैं फर्स्ट आ जाऊंगा तो मेरे पेरेंट्स को हार गला लगा देंगे, या कोई आदमी कह देगा ये इसका बेटा आ गया. No. You are studying for yourself. You are not doing a charity. Parents are, spending their hard money. आप अपने लिए पढ़ रहे हैं. अगर आप नहीं पढ़ेंगे, अपना डैमेज खुद कर रहे हैं, किसी का कोई डैमेज नहीं होगा. तो आप जब प्रोफेशन में चले जाएंगे, आप देखेंगे आपकी क्लास में एक आदमी 10 लाख रुपया महीने का कमा रहा है, दूसरा 1 लाख पर ही अड़ा हुआ है. क्या है? that he studied, he knew, he is studying for himself. So आप आदमी जो है, कोई बाहर से किसी को आदमी ना मार सकता है, ना आगे बढ़ा सकता है. It's only you have to think about this, and you do best, to promote yourself, to make yourself a great person. And सबसे ज्यादा जो आपकी अभी वाइस चांसलर साहब कह रहे थे, हम प्रोफेशनल एथिक्स बढ़ाते हैं, इन्वायरमेंट की बात करते हैं, तो इसका मतलब आप जो है इंसान, अच्छे इंसान बनना जरूरी है। जिस दिन अच्छा इंसान बन जाएंगे तो आपका आधी से ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम खुद ब खुद हल हो जाएंगी। और सेकेंडली, आप सरबद का भला कर रहे हैं। दैट मीन यू आर लुकिंग एट यूनिवर्स, यू आर नॉट लुकिंग एट योरसेल्फ। In the matter of ethics, you are looking at universe. I think there can't be great combination of that, and that's what remains the essence. I'm sorry, I went into other area, but nevertheless, as a teacher, as a student, I think we are the one who are looking after ourselves, who should look after ourselves. In addition to being a good professional, we have to be good human being, and whatever we do, we are not doing, we don't do architecture as a business. We do as a professional, and you are rendering highest level of professional service to a person who have engaged you, and you are giving a product which not only enhances the value of the place, but also makes value addition to the place where the building is located, to the city where it is located, and to the entire planet, because you are making it more energy efficient, water efficient. You are saving all those resources, you are generating less waste, and you are creating win-win situation for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed very insightful. I'm sure students and the faculty members must have definitely benefited from the same. I now open the session for questions and answers. Please raise your hands and we will get to you one by one. Abhishek sir, I believe you have a question.
Abhishek, please unmute yourself. Abhishek, you are mute.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I would like to ask you a question which is moreover a little bit connected to both IGBC and other. Sir, like IGBC is working so good in rating system and improving things with time. So is there any possibility in future where we can incorporate vernacular architecture practices also along with this rating system? Where we can rate vernacular buildings which are. Yes, sir.
Yes. In fact, vernacular building, they are a different ball game because they were different contexts they were done. But one thing is very, very important. Most of the vernacular buildings, they were already, they are very sustainable buildings. But what I'm trying to say is, the rating is done on certain parameters, right? It's not that you should get building rated. It's only knowing to what extent the building is green, right? So any kind of building is rated, like your school, your hospital, like your even railway stations are being regulated. There are 29 rating systems which are available. But if you want, if the vernacular buildings are to be rated, surely there can be a rating system evolved for that, because they have their specific requirement and specific context, and there are. But nevertheless, what I said, there are only those 5 parameters which will be governing, where that is energy efficiency, water efficiency. Of course, then they will work out the detail and they can surely bring in, and there is no problem about, certifying to what extent these buildings were sustainable or sustainable. What I would suggest is, there are many buildings. They're like, Kabuzir, Chandigarh is one, they have Capital Complex, and this is already rated as World Heritage Site, but they have done controls. So I am asking all my students in architecture, somebody wants to do on sustainability, I said, please do a study of these controls, because these controls are doing all the kind of structure. You are not allowing anybody to change. Whether these have been, designed based on sustainability or they meet the parameter of sustainability or not, I think that needs to be studied. Because at that time, there was no system of that green rating, etc., when those buildings were constructed. But they did with their own ingenuity, they did with the climate, they did with all their understanding, and they knew how the building has to be designed. Of course, there are other kind of things like, if its context is this is a major public building, then things could be different, etc. But surely, I think that's a good idea that there should be a rating system for vernacular building, and they needs to be rated if at all they need to.
Thank you, sir.
Am I clear or anything else you wanted?
Yes, sir, I'm clear. I got my answer.
But one thing is very different. Unfortunately, in India, there is no uniform rating system. There are 4 agencies, they have 4 rating systems. In fact, India ultimately should now, there should be one rating system,
yes,
based on which you may rate. Of course, it can be different for school or hospital, etc. But there has to be uniform system based on rating should be done. It is not somebody rates it in another way. There should be objectivity, not subjectivity. That's what it is. But if you could do one thing, you compare all the 4 rating system, see what they focus on, what the positivity, what the negativity, and what could be the composite rating system. You can take, anybody can take as a a research project, and I think it should deserve as a PhD thesis. Somebody can do it and then come to a uniform rating system for this based on then you can look at the international level, what the USGBC does, what Canada does, what BREEAM in UK does it. That could be a good option, how they rate it, how we rate it, and then what could be the best option for rating in India. Right?
yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
We have a request from Professor Rahul Sharma, sir.
Right, sir. Rahul?
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for such a great and knowledgeable lecture. Sir, I am Rahul Sharma from Civil Engineering Department,
Right.
faculty in Civil Engineering Department. Sir, my question is related to, actually, I am a civil engineer with masters in environmental engineering.
Okay.
So,
Right.
sir, I just want to ask that, is there any course or any certificate course in GRIHA or IGBS for such profile engineers so that we can improve our profile in the environmental audit and such type of professions, sir?
Right. Thank you. In fact, there is IGBC does there's a program called accredited professionals. Accredited professionals. That means you have to only take an exam, online exam, and this IGBC goes on conducting IGL, Indian Green League. They conduct a course sometime in which they cover all the entire gamut, how the buildings are. I said those 52 parameters, they explain you all how these parameters are there, how they are evaluated, everything. They explain you right from there. But since you yourself are engineer and know everything, what I will suggest, go on the IGBC site, see there is a accredited professional, there is a program, download those kind of things, see the old papers, prepare yourself because you know most of the things, and then appear online exam. They are conducting online exam, and once you get through that, you will be given a certificate of accredited professional. That means you become like a chartered accountant. So this is like another career option, which I'll suggest to the students, they can, after graduation, they can take up that, and then you are authorized to audit or advise, aid, and assist the people who want to do the green building. So you can tell them how to make it, how to design it. You can guide it, you can help them, you can involve, and it is, in the rating system, 1 mark is also given if the company employs a accredited professional in the planning and designing of that building and construction of that building. So the career option is there. Greha also does the accredited profession. They have their own system, but they all conduct a objective type exam, which you have to take online. Whenever you are prepared, you pay fees and they will fix the date, and then you take the exam, and then it's only objective type. And if you clear, you are given full certificate, and also you are rated as a accredited profession.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other requests for questions from students? Dear students who currently situation and ask sir.
Students can also use question answer block if they want. And Janvi can read the questions on your behalf. Sir, I have a question. Econivas Samhita 2018 is already launched. Which talk about window to wall area ratio, openable window to floor area ratio, and so on. Is it related with IGBC rating?
IGBC takes into account, in fact, IGBC has their own rating system. We're not connected because IGBC remains independent, and all things are fitted into the domain of those 20 or 29 rating systems. So Econivas is not there, but IGBC itself has a rating system for affordable housing, green affordable housing. So they have full rating system available to you, and a lot of houses have already been rated under that. Around, I think, to more than 20 lakh houses have already been rated under affordable category for green rating. So that's what they do.
Okay. Okay.
I think we have most of the questions. Okay, we have a question from the student. Scan. Scan, can you?
I have promoted Muskan to panelist. Muskan, you can now ask questions. You can unmute yourself and you can ask.
I'm not able to hear.
Scan, you can unmute.
Can you read?
No, sir. They just promoted student to panelist so that they can ask the questions.
Right.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Muskan. I'm a fifth year student.
Yes,
So am I audible?
Yes, yes. No problem. Thank you.
सर मुझे डाउट तो नहीं है, बट मुझे एक सजेशन चाहिए था आपसे. लाइक मेरा डेजिटेशन में मेरा जो टॉपिक है वो पैसिव स्ट्रेटजीज को एक्सप्लोर करना और इम्प्लीमेंट करना है. सो वेंटिलेशन पैरामीटर्स एंड सर मेरा आपसे मतलब सजेशन है कि मैं उसे कैसे आगे ले जा सकती हूँ. एंड आईजीबीसी में क्या ऐसे कुछ ऐसे इम्पोर्टेंट रूल्स हैं या ऐसे कुछ पॉइंट्स है जिन्हें मैं फॉलो कर अपने डेजिटेशन को और अच्छे से कर सकती हूँ. आई एम टेकिंग अ लाइव केस of a residence on which I am doing a prototype moduling and simulation. So मैं उसे कैसे implement कर सकती हूँ कि वो मेरा एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी एंड मतलब एनर्जी एफिशिएंट बिल्डिंग्स मैं बना सकूँ और जो एनर्जी क्राइसिस है वो उस कंसर्न को फुलफिल कर सकूँ.
ठीक है. इनफैक्ट जितनी भी रेटिंग होती है, दैट रेटिंग जितने पॉइंट्स मिलते हैं that you have to do with sport with the document, material कौन सा use है, जैसे energy efficiency की बात है, like what, that fixture they are trying to use it. If it's only LED, that means surely it is more efficient. Bulb hai, that is totally inefficient hai. So when you are doing exactly case studies, तो आपकी building existing building है, you just take out the manual for existing. Is it residential? What it is? ये residential है क्या?
it's a residence.
तो आपने ऐसे करना, एक वहां पर हमारे ना रेटिंग में एग्जिस्टिंग हाउसेस को ग्रीन करने की बुकलेट है, जिसके अंदर पूरे पैरामीटर दिए हैं, किन किन को कंसिडर करके कैसे उनको इवेल्युएट करके नंबरिंग देके आपने करना है, तो वो आप ले लेना, ठीक है? जस्ट डाउनलोड फ्रॉम दिस। नहीं तो हिमांशु आपके साथ बैठा है ना, यही है, मिस्टर हिमांशु इज देयर, तो आईजीबीसी से हैं। तो अदरवाइज इफ यू गो टू आईजीबीसी दिस साइट इटसेल्फ, you will get existing residential building, unka green rating of existing residential building. So take out that, there is a full details given on which, those are parameter or their defined parameter, और उनकी weightage क्या है, और किस एक एक पैरामीटर को, जैसे मैंने आपको 7 बताए थे, planning, designing, site planning and designing, then energy conservation, water conservation, building मटेरियल थे, देन था इंडोर एयर क्वालिटी। तो जो इंडोर एयर क्वालिटी जैसे कुछ चीजें हैं उसको आपको क्वांटिफाई करना पड़ेगा, राइट? जैसे आपका टेम्परेचर की बात करते हैं तो आपको व्हाट यू विल हैव टू डू, पता नहीं 6 महीने में कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू डू द टोटल जस्टिस, क्योंकि अभी आपका सर्दी शुरू हो जाएगा, बाद में गर्मी चाहिए, क्योंकि बिल्डिंग तो दोनों में चलेगी ना पूरी। तो ये स्टडी 1 साल के करीब चाहिए कि जिसमें आप गर्मी के पीरियड में भी बाहर टेम्परेचर कितना है और बिल्डिंग के अंदर कितना है, ठीक है? दैट यू विल हैव टू हैव इंस्ट्रूमेंट प्लेस्ड विद इन द हाउस, यू कैन डू दैट एंड देन सी हाउ कितना टेम्परेचर डिफरेंस आता है और क्या सर्दी में क्या है, गर्मी में क्या है, तो वो आपको देखना है। मॉइस्चर से देन मॉइस्चरोमीटर यू हैव सी कि यहाँ कहाँ है, यहाँ कितना है और वहाँ कितना है, तो दैट इज व्हाट you will have to quantify and then come to the conclusion. But otherwise, if it's just an exercise, then you out of that rating system, quantification वाला छोड़ देना, लेकिन अपनी orientation वाला कर लो, orientation कर लो, then windows वाला कर लो, और temperature जो है variation देख लो, और उनका जो है इनफैक्ट आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि व्हाट इज द स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑफ एनर्जी कंजम्पशन फॉर ए ग्रीन बिल्डिंग एंड व्हाट दे आर डूइंग, देन यू कैन कंपेयर विद दोस काइंड ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड एंड कम टू ए कंक्लूजन, राइट? मेरी बात समझ रहे हैं कि नहीं रहे हम?
Yes sir, yes sir.
तो इसमें यू डू ओनली दोस काइंड ऑफ पैरामीटर, हाउ द हाउस इज बीन ओरिएंटेड। जैसे मैंने नॉर्थ साउथ ईस्ट वेस्ट बताया, अगर आपकी वेस्ट साइड में उन्होंने बेडरूम रखा है तो वो कभी नहीं ठीक रहेगा, ठीक है? तो आप देखेंगे दैट क्रिएट ए क्राइसिस, क्योंकि वेस्ट इज द हॉटेस्ट, और आपने अपना बेडरूम को इतना गर्म कर लिया और रात को सोने जाएंगे तो क्या रहेगा, तो यू हैव टू पुट मोर एयर कंडीशनर। तो अल्टीमेटली यहाँ तो आप रेट्रोफिटिंग करें, तो अगर रेट्रोफिटिंग करके आपको करके देखें तो अभी कितना एनर्जी कंजम्पशन है, बाद में कितना है, बट श्योरली उसके अंदर पानी की कंजम्पशन है, तो हो सकता है आपको उनके सारे वाटर टैप उनको यूज करवा, मतलब यू कैन टेल देम हाउ टू रेट्रो। आई थिंक रादर देन असेसिंग दिस, यू शुड डू व्हाट यू से हाउ टू मेक दिस बिल्डिंग ग्रीन, वो चीज देखिए किस लेवल पर है और किस कर की जा सकती है। देन यू डू ए स्टडी व्हाट फिक्चर दे आर यूजिंग फॉर लाइटिंग, हाउ दे आर कंज्यूमिंग वाटर, एंड देन डिजाइन में ओरिएंटेशन क्या है, तो उस तरीके के वही 5-6 एस्पेक्ट लेके इंडोर एयर क्वालिटी, जहां से अगर कोई बहुत ज्यादा वहां पर पोल्यूशन है साइड सराउंड में तो उसको कैसे चेक कर सकते हैं, देन वेजिटेशन के लिए कोई चीज अवेलेबल है, लैंडस्केपिंग, यू कैन गिव देन पैरामीटर टू मेक इट ग्रीन। दैट आई थिंक आप उसको असेस करके उसको नेगेटिविटी देख के उसके अंदर फिर आप कुछ सजेस्ट कर देंगे। I think that will become more relevant and positive, and that will become a guide for retrofitting an existing building. ठीक है? How to do it. तो आप choices between assessing a green building, assessing a greenness of a building, existing building, or making it a this. लेकिन assessing के लिए I think 6 महीने का time बहुत कम है, because you have to do measurement, but you only do, I would say, वो जो जहां तक पॉसिबल है क्वांटिफाई करने की, वो स्टडी करके करते हैं. ठीक है? और कोई चीज पूछना तो बताइए. मतलब I will give my number. If you have any time, Muskan, you need it, we will be able to provide you the support, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Now we have Jeshwane sir who wants to ask the question.
Surely.
Hello, am I audible?
Oh, yes.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is an interior designer eligible for IGBC AP exam?
हाँ, जरूर.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
एक मिनट और देखिए. एक IGBC में इंटीरियर ग्रीन रेटिंग भी है अवेलेबल. ठीक है? आपने पढ़ी है वो?
Yes, sir. I had a subject in my master's.
नहीं, सब्जेक्ट है कि एक रेटिंग सिस्टम भी IGBC का है. How you do the interiors, how do the interior are being rated on greenness, वो जरा जरूर देखिए. ठीक है?
Okay, sir.
उससे आपको आइडिया हो जाएगा what are the factors which are considered for making a interior green. क्योंकि आप इंटीरियर तो बना रहे हैं, वो सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात करता है, ये ग्रीननेस की बात करता है. सो ग्रीननेस इज ए मच वाइडर कॉनोटेशन एज कंपेयर टू सस्टेनेबिलिटी. ठीक है?
Okay, sir.
तो उसको भी देख लें. दिस विल मेक वैल्यू एडिशन.
Sure.
ठीक है?
Thank
Make it a reference.
So we have a question from a student, Ashray Jain. His question is, talked about building modeling as an important aspect to learn. So does IGBC have any criteria for the simulation so that they have better understanding for these parameters that it listed?
मैंने कहा था IGBC ने तो 52 पैरामीटर दिए हैं बिल्डिंग को इवैल्यूएट करने के. ठीक है? जिसमें 10 कंपल्सरी है, 42 जो हैं वो आपको प्रोवाइड करने हैं. उसके बेस पर रेटिंग होती है. BIM is a tool, ठीक है? Building information modeling. So that's a tool available which can, make building sustainable. मतलब आपको पता लग जाता है उसमें ये बिल्डिंग कितनी एनर्जी कंज्यूम कर रही है. How you can reduce the energy consumption of building. So BIM is a great tool, for architects, for all people who are involved in construction or engineers, etc. So this tool helps you before you construct. During the designing, it can let you know building kahan stand karti hai. So therefore, you can redesign or redefine your building wherever you find those things are going wrong. So BIM जो है ultimately it's a tool before you that when you're trying to achieve a greenness of a building or rating for this will be a ready reckoner for you. You have already done your homework, so that you have already put that kind of input, you know how much energy is being consumed on this building is going to be what level of efficiency or water efficiency, etc. So that is all, BIM can do this. So you can use this. But BIM, किसी तरीके से ये जो जब रेटिंग करते हैं, अब एक बार, we'd like that if we can have lecture, either you have एक दिन I will suggest if you could have a 1 week program on green building, पूरी इस पर construction, material, indoor air quality, water पर आ जाएगा, energy पर आ जाएगा, 7 aspect I said. अगर 7 दिन आप रोज एक लेक्चर मतलब पूरा एक कर लें, फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम कर लें, स्टूडेंट कर लिए, इंस्टीट्यूशन के कर लिए, and then experts coming and briefing you all this, and they'll explain the reference context also, and then how they are evaluated, जो पैरामीटर दिए गए हैं. That will, I think, that can help you out. So that can be, not only for architects, for civil engineer or people who are in the energy. Most of the, all of us, we are involved in this interior design. That could be a great learning and that can be organized. ठीक है, आप जतेन मेहता को कह देंगे या मुझे बताएंगे तो I can do it. But I think you can not only do for yourself, you can do for the region. You can have faculty development program, you can have student development program, which majority of people can join, and then that can be made available, right?
Thank you for the suggestions, sir. We'll definitely plan something. So thank you all for being patient listeners. I now invite our director, Architect Vishal Yadav, sir. It's the words of thanks.
Yeah, just before proceeding to word of thanks, may I request all to please switch on your cameras so that we can have a group photo for our documentation. Ayushi, can you please take the snap? Professor Rahul Sharma, can you please switch on your camera? Abhishek.
Sir, I think Abhishek sir has some.
Yeah.
something
Okay.
with his
Okay.
camera.
Okay.
I'll just-
Okay. You can take snap. No problem.
Okay, it's done. Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, I will like to thank Professor Jeet Kumar Gupta for his valuable time and wonderful session. Sir, this session was as good as a short-term course on green buildings. Thank you so much. You have covered almost all the things related to green buildings. So thank you so much for such a wonderful session. I would like to thank Himanshu Shah for always being available for us and his coordinating IGBC activities in MP. So thank you, Himanshu. I will further like to thank all the architects of Indian Institute of Architects here who are present. I will like to thank all members of IGBC Indore chapter here. I will like to thank architect Jiten Mehta, chairman IGBC Indore chapter, even though he cannot be present here today because of his urgent visit to Bhopal, but his support is always there for us. So thank you, Jiten Mehta, sir. I must appreciate all work done by coordinators of this committee, Abhishek Gujral, then Ayushi Jurani, Janvi Manjrekar. You did a good job. I must thank all the HODs, HOIs who are present there. I can see Vinod Dar sir, I can see Mahendra Pratap Singh, Mahendra Pratap sir. So thank you so much, sir, for attending our session. I will like to thank further all the students who attended it and who listened it, and it was a great value addition. So thank you all. We're looking forward to have many more sessions with IGBC student chapter. Thank you. Thank you.
विशाल एक बात तो करेंगे ना, मुझे
जी
आप
सर।
दिखाएंगे, हाँ?
जी।
You will keep a visit for me. मैं यूनिवर्सिटी आना चाहूँगा.
Yes, definitely, sir, definitely.
I love
Even we
to
are
see
waiting for it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it's good. I hope I am able to communicate with you.
Yes,
about
yes,
this
yes, sir.
and
It was very properly. You explained it very properly, and even the complex topic were understood very thoroughly.
so we'll meet sometime. Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah,
very much.
sure.
Thank you. God bless you all, and we thank you for the
It's
opportunity.
been a very erudite session, and we have you all to thank for it. I once again extend our gratitude all the dignitaries for gracing this event with their presence. We hope to continue this legacy of IGBC through more seminars and workshops in the future, and look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.